In the hills of Judah, anger was on the move. 400 men, swords at their sides, marching toward one man's household. At their head, David, the future king of Israel. His face set like stone, ready to answer insult with blood. Pride had lit the fire, and vengeance was coming fast. But one woman, without an army, without weapons, rode out to stand in their path. Her courage would need to be greater than his fury, her wisdom sharper than his sword. This is the story of Abigail, the Peacemaker, and though her story is thousands of years old, it still speaks to our homes today. Because sometimes the battles we face are not with swords, but with words. And the choice between peace and pride can be closer than we think.
In the southern hills of Judah, where stone paths twist between olive groves and dry grass bends beneath the heat of the sun, lived a man named Nabal. His wealth was great, vast flocks scattered across the ridges, storehouses filled to the brim, servants rushing to and fro. To the eye, it seemed he lacked nothing, but the land remembers more than riches. And though Nabal's hands held abundance, his heart was poor in kindness, and his name itself carried the weight of folly. Not far away, another man walked a very different road. David, the one anointed by God to be Israel's next king, lived not in palaces, but in caves and ravines. A fugitive, hunted by Saul, yet still a leader of men. Around him, 600 loyal followers endured the hardship of the wilderness, clinging to a promise they could not yet see, that God would, in his time, raise David to the throne. It would have been easy for David to take what he needed, to use strength and sword to survive. Yet, in these same hills where Nabal's shepherds led their flocks, David's men chose another path. Day and night, they became a wall of protection, keeping the herd safe from raiders, thieves, and the wild dangers of the night. Not a sheep was lost, not a servant was harmed. In the wilderness, such protection was rare and costly to the men who gave it. But David's choice was clear, to walk in restraint and trust the Lord who had promised him a kingdom. When the season of sheep shearing arrived, the hills came alive. For shepherds and masters alike, it was a time of joy, a feast, a harvest, a celebration of plenty. In Israel's custom, this was also a season for generosity, when kindness flowed from abundance. In those days, David had every reason to expect a gift. For months, his men had guarded Nabal's herds at their own cost in hunger and danger. But instead of taking by force, David chose humility. He sent a small group of messengers carrying only a greeting of peace.
Peace be to you, peace to your household, and peace to all that you have. We have watched over your shepherds, and not one was harmed. Please, give whatever you have on hand to your servants, and to David, son of Jesse.
It was not a demand. It was a humble request, carried with restraint in a season of generosity. A door was opened for kindness, but how Nabal would answer would soon set the course for all that followed.
But Nabal was not a man moved by kindness. Though his table overflowed, his heart was empty. Pride ruled his tongue, and arrogance sharpened every word.
Who is David? Who is the son of Jesse? Should I take my bread, my water, my meat, the food I have prepared for my shearers, and give it to men who come from I know not where?
His refusal was not a simple no. It was an insult, a public dismissal heavy with contempt, spoken loud enough for every ear in the courtyard to hear. In a culture where honor was life itself, such words cut deep. And in the hills of Judah, word travels quickly. When David heard the answer, it struck like flint on stone. Days of restraint, nights of hunger and weariness, months of holding back his strength for the sake of peace. And now, this, a public insult that cut at his honor, his men, his name.
Strap on your swords.
400 men obeyed without hesitation. Their eyes, hardened by wilderness battles, flashed with loyalty and rage. The rhythm of their boots, the glint of their blades in the fading light, all spoke one truth. Anger had taken the lead. As they thundered through the wilderness, David's vow rang out. By morning's light, no male in Nabal's house would be left alive. Pride had lit a fire, and vengeance was ready to burn. But while Nabal drowned in pride, his household was not blind. One of the young servants, having heard the insult, ran to Abigail. He told her all, how David's men had been a wall of protection in the fields, and how Nabal's mocking reply had placed every life in danger. Abigail did not panic. She did not waste words in complaint. With wisdom shaped by faith, she saw the storm gathering and chose another way. She called for provisions, 200 loaves of bread, skins of wine, 5 dressed sheep, roasted grain, raisins, figs, enough to feed an army, gathered in haste, yet with care. Servants loaded the donkeys under her command, and before she set out, she turned her heart to heaven, for she knew what lay ahead was no small task, to stand between wrath and destruction, to bring peace where pride had opened the door to death. While Nabal feasted, unaware, Abigail rode out swiftly toward the wilderness road, toward the sound of marching feet and the fire of vengeance. Through the rocky paths and shadowed hills, David and his men advanced. Fury pressed them forward, 400 blades sharpened by vengeance. Each step carried them closer to bloodshed. And then, on a narrow road between cliffs, 2 paths met. From one side, an army burning with wrath. From the other, a woman carrying peace. Without hesitation, Abigail bowed low. Dust clung to her robes, yet her posture was filled with strength, not weakness. She chose humility, not fear, as her weapon. And in that silence, her words carried weight greater than any sword.
My lord, let the blame fall on me. Please pay no regard to Nabal, for as his name is, so is he. Folly is with him. But the Lord has held you back from bloodshed. May this gift be received, and may you remember, the Lord will surely establish your house, for you fight his battles. When he brings you the throne, let it not be stained with needless blood.
Her words struck David's heart with more force than insult ever could. For in her wisdom, he saw God's hand restraining him. What anger had blinded, Abigail's courage made clear. Vengeance belonged not to him, but to the Lord.
Blessed be the Lord who sends you this day. Blessed be your wisdom, and blessed are you who have kept me from bloodshed.
And so, in the wilderness, the fire of wrath was quenched. One woman's wisdom turned aside the path of destruction, and peace walked home with her that night. While Abigail returned in peace, Nabal remained in his pride. Drunk with wine and blinded by his own arrogance, he knew nothing of how close death had come to his gates. At dawn, when the wine had left him, Abigail told Nabal what had nearly befallen the household, how David's army had been on the march, how destruction had been averted. And when the truth struck him, it was as if his heart turned to stone, his body trembled, and he collapsed, lifeless and cold. 10 days later, the Lord struck him fully, and Nabal was gone. When word reached David, his heart bowed low. He saw what anger had nearly cost him, and how God himself had judged the matter. What his sword had been eager to do, the Lord had done in his own time. And in that moment, David gave thanks, not for Nabal's death, but for Abigail's wisdom, the wisdom that had kept his hands clean and his heart free from the stain of pride. In the wilderness, two paths had opened, vengeance or wisdom. Nabal chose pride, and it led to ruin. But Abigail chose peace, and her courage preserved not only her household, but David's honor as well. In every age, pride still sparks anger. It blinds the heart, pushes words to the tongue, and drives hands toward actions that cannot be undone. David knew that road well, until one woman's wisdom stood in the way. Abigail's courage reminds us that peace is not passive. It takes strength to bow low. It takes faith to speak gently when anger demands louder words. And it takes wisdom to see that vengeance belongs not to us, but to the Lord. Her story is not just about a woman who stopped a battle. It is about the choice each of us faces when tension rises. Will we answer pride with pride, anger with anger, or will we step forward as peacemakers, the ones who mend what is breaking and write a different ending?
Well, that's different from earlier.
Yeah, no yelling, no grabbing. It's kind of nice.
We're fine now. Zara said I could have it for a bit.
It's not worth fighting over. I didn't want it to turn into, earlier.
Sounds like someone learned from Abigail.
She was the one who stopped David from fighting, right?
Yep, that's right. She saw trouble coming and stepped in before it got out of hand. Smart move.
I guess I can be an Abigail sometimes.
We could all be more like her. Even me.
Why don't we thank God for that? For giving us stories that help us know what to do.
Lord, thank you for Abigail's wisdom and for how you used her to bring peace when anger was ready to take over. Help us remember that the same choice is in front of us every day. Whether it's a small argument at home or something much bigger, teach us to listen before we speak, to be humble before we react, and to see people the way you see them. Give us the courage to step in and bring peace, even when it's not easy. Amen.
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 Abigail's courage didn't just stop a fight, it changed the ending of the story. And the same can be true for us. The moments we choose humility over pride, the moments we choose to listen instead of lash out, we are writing different endings in our homes, our friendships, our communities. Peace doesn't just happen, it's built, choice by choice, word by word, action by action. And today, you have that choice.